Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise and this is 10 to Life, where we are talking all things true crime. So if you're brand new and you've never checked out this channel before, welcome, and I hope you enjoy today's case coverage. And for all of you returning 10 to Lifers, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you guys here with me today. Today I'm bringing you the case of Jennifer Gail Paxton of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And this one is a little out of the ordinary, and if I'm being honest, super depraved. And because of that, this is why it sees the possibility of having one of the first women executed in Tennessee in more than 200 years. So guys, let's get right into it.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
Alright guys, I'm going to share a little bit about my personal life with you for a second here, but don't judge me. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I waste so much money on food delivery service. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy cooking and I like to think that I'm somewhat good at it, but I often just find myself so exhausted by the end of the day that it's easier to just open up an app on my phone and order food from there, which is just awful because it's obviously not the healthiest, but even more than that, it is such a waste of money. Luckily, I use Truebill, and Truebill is an all-in-one personal finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. With Truebill, you can find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, lower your bills, monitor your credit score, and build your savings, all in one place. Truebill has really helped me identify this issue of mine and show me how I'm spending my money so I can really manage it better. It sets budgets that automatically monitor your spending by category and push those friendly little notifications when you've exceeded them, which for me has just been eye-opening when I see how much money I'm spending on food every month. It is ridiculous. And you can visualize it by month, quarter, and even year to really get a handle on what it is you're spending. One of my other favorite features that I've actually mentioned before is that they can help you cancel unwanted subscriptions. Truebill safely and securely identifies reoccurring charges and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you just with a tap. It is so easy. To try it out for free and unlock more features with premium, head to truebill.com/10tolife or click the link in the video description. Thank you so much, Truebill, for sponsoring today's video and for helping me get my finances in check. I gotta hit the grocery store. And I gotta quit ordering food and being lazy. Ugh, God, I need to. And thank you to all of you viewers for understanding that sponsors are essential to the channel if we want to grow it to a place where I can deliver you more true crime all the time. Now let's jump back into today's case. In December of 2019, 36-year-old Jennifer Gail Paxton went missing, but it wasn't until the summer of 2020 that she was found, and this was nearly 8 months, almost 9 months actually, since she had gone missing. And the only reason she was found was thanks to a tip given to police by one of the perpetrators. Jennifer was found under the shared bed of 53-year-old Sean Finnegan and 23-year-old Rebecca Dishman. So police were given this tip about Jennifer and her whereabouts by 23-year-old Rebecca, and she told them where Jennifer's body was, telling them that it could be found in a stand-up freezer in their residence. So police quickly executed a search warrant for that residence on August 6, 2020. But because Sean had been previously given a heads up, when the police arrived at the residence, the body had been removed from the freezer and it was hidden. After searching and searching, the officers ended up catching a lucky break, and one officer during this search noticed that there was a blanket sticking out from beneath the couple's bed. And then when he went to investigate it further, he discovered the thawing remains of Jennifer wrapped up and hastily hidden. Just disgusting. There sat Jennifer in their room, once in the freezer, for months before she was finally discovered under this bed by police. So obviously this couple was arrested and they were read their Miranda rights, and this happened very, very quickly. And so quickly after being read their rights, they started to give up their stories pretty honestly. But each of their story had slight differences. However, the main points in their story all aligned. Everything began to mirror each other, and it was pretty clear how Jennifer ended up under this couple's bed. Now, as I mentioned, they did have slightly different stories. So Sean claimed that he actually brought Jennifer home with him after he paid her for sexual favors. He said that he offered her money to come back home with him and have a threesome with his girlfriend, Rebecca. He said that they all had sex, and then he went to go and take a shower. And then when he returned, he found Rebecca had incapacitated Jennifer with a bat, perhaps in some sort of jealous rage. According to Rebecca, however, Sean brought Jennifer home and then informed her that he had offered Jennifer a place to stay. He asked Rebecca to go upstairs to make sure that his mother, who shared the home with them, didn't come down. So while she was waiting at the top of the stairs, she says that she heard Jennifer screaming. So she ran downstairs to investigate, and she found Sean over Jennifer's body with a bat and then blood all over the floor. He apparently then picked Jennifer up and took her to their room and told Rebecca to clean up the blood, which she claims that she did with a Swiffer, which was just such a casual statement. And I thought Swiffers were for dust, but maybe it was a wet jet. I don't know. Anyways, so their stories are starting to align here. As far as the points that are the same in both of their stories is that in December of 2019, Sean brought home Jennifer, who was allegedly homeless at the time, offering her a place to stay and money, and she apparently gladly accepted. Then we know Jennifer was then bludgeoned with a bat in the kitchen, still not quite sure by who, but then taken to their bedroom. And after those minor differences in how Jennifer came to be in the couple's bed, the story became much more similar and very, very dark. They both admit that after being put in their bedroom, her arms and legs were zip-tied, and she was shackled to the bed with a dog collar around her neck and a chain around her body and neck. And for several days, she was sexually targeted, essayed by this couple, deprived of food, water, medical care, and also forced to use a bucket as her toilet. Just inhumane behavior.
We begin this newscast with breaking news. 2 people are behind bars accused of kidnapping and murder. This happening in Oak Ridge. Court records show it all unfolded at a home on East Fairview Road.
We want to warn you the details of this case are gruesome. 10 News anchor Beth Haynes joins us with the very latest. Beth.
Yeah, Robin and John, very disturbing. 52-year-old Sean Finnegan and his girlfriend, 22-year-old Rebecca Dishman, face several charges, including first-degree murder, kidnapping. Court records show the couple lured the victim into their home, promising her a place to stay. Oak Ridge police say they responded to that home on East Fairview Road last night. There they found a 36-year-old woman dead. Documents say Finnegan and Dishman admitted to hitting the woman in the head with a baseball bat, tying her up.
And this didn't last long, fortunately and unfortunately, because just 3 or 4 days later, they noticed that Jennifer's health was quickly declining. And because of this, Sean approached Jennifer from behind and strangled her to death, ending her life.
The records say after the woman died, the couple dismembered her before stuffing her body into a freezer. Court documents say the alleged crimes happened back in December.
So they admitted, this couple both then admitted that after this, they took her body into the bathroom where they poured bleach all over her to destroy any sort of DNA evidence, which doesn't make much sense at all considering what their next move was. So they then decided to store her body in their upright freezer that was located in their room, which makes no sense because that would be incriminating enough without any DNA evidence, in my opinion.
Blake, what did you learn in court today?
Well, Lori, we learned there are 2 very different stories about what happened here. Dishman told police Finnegan repeatedly hit Paxton with a baseball bat the night he brought her home and chained her to a bed. She admitted they both were involved in sex acts while Paxton was held against her will, but Dishman claims Finnegan is responsible for her death. Finnegan, however, had a different story, saying the death was basically due to declining health. Jennifer Paxton's family sat on the front row as Sergeant Marvell Moore with Oak Ridge Police Department outlined details in the investigation for the first time, including Sean Finnegan's description of what happened.
He said that, he panicked, he didn't know what to do, and he explained his love for his Dishman, so he tried to help her,
Did he wanted to help Miss Dishman?
Yes.
Help her how? Did he explain how he was going to help Miss Dishman?
To conceal the body.
Finnegan told Moore it was Dishman that initially assaulted Paxton with a baseball bat, but Dishman said it was Finnegan who held that bat and took her life a few days later.
And the testimony from both of their statements was that the two of them together worked on this and accomplished this, manipulating her body to the point it could fit in this freezer.
Finnegan could be seen in court disagreeing with some of her testimony. Dishman did reveal ways she was involved, but claimed she was made to do much of it.
Isn't it true that she also told you that when she disobeyed Mr. Finnegan, he would cut her?
She did make mention of a previous incident where she did not do as she was told, then she was punished.
Sergeant Moore testified Dishman told her friend about the murder while the friend was driving her to a shelter in Campbell County. That was months after the murder occurred. The prosecutor believes Dishman had plenty of opportunity to report Paxton being held against her will and her death.
So Sean wanted to make sure that Jennifer's body would fit in this small freezer. So he broke her neck, he removed her nose and part of her breast to actually be able to stuff her in completely and close the door. And that is where she stayed hidden until Sean sensed that that search was impending or got the tip off, and he moved her body. He then removed her body from that freezer and stored it under the bed, cleaning the freezer out thoroughly to hide any sort of evidence. Now here's what I just don't understand. He kept her under the bed and cleaned the freezer. I can't imagine, honestly, how that seemed like a better plan to him at the time, and it's lucky for law enforcement and Jennifer's family that he wasn't seemingly very smart, and that she was easily located despite no longer being in that freezer when the police arrived to execute that search warrant. But I'm curious because wouldn't that smell carry from out of the freezer to under the bed? And also, if Jennifer died in late 2019 or very early 2020 and wasn't found until August of 2020, that means that Sean and Rebecca had nearly 8 months to remove her body or destroy the evidence, and they just let it sit there. So my question with that is, was it because they didn't have the intelligence or the wherewithal to dispose of her, or was it because they wanted to keep her body as some sort of sick trophy? And I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, and I'm going to explain why. It's also not clear what prompted Rebecca to alert the police of the location of Jennifer's body. Maybe she felt some sort of remorse or guilt, especially being in the same room with this freezer that contained Jennifer's corpse. Or maybe she had a fight with Sean and wanted to get back at him for something that had happened between them. We really don't know. But regardless of why she alerted the authorities or how the crime began, it is just a horrific crime that went virtually undetected. And it turns my stomach thinking about how they literally just coexisted with this secret locked away in a freezer within plain sight of their everyday lives. Now, here's where we get into me possibly thinking that it was because it was a trophy of sorts, because of charges that came against them in addition to this crime itself. So just stay with me while I explain this, because I know that kind of was a lot to say. So in 2020, a grand jury indicted both of them on charges of first-degree murder, aggravated RAPE, aggravated kidnapping, tampering with a corpse, tampering with evidence, as well as 18 counts of sexual exploitation of a child under 8 and aggravated RAPE of a child under the age of 3, which now these charges were unrelated to Jennifer's murder, and it's not clear if all counts were for the same child. But that's what makes me think that there was clearly a pattern with these people, so I think it was more of a trophy because clearly they were sick and they were depraved and they were doing things to other people. And as horrific as these charges are for these child-related crimes, it's really not surprising, though, considering that they went to such lengths for their selfish gratification with Jennifer, too. And it just shows how deeply horrible their actions were. It also explains why they now are facing the death penalty.
And her death was a homicide. Officers then found the body underneath a bed, feet away from a, quote, large upright freezer.
It isn't asked for very often in East Tennessee and usually is reserved for particularly heinous crimes.
Now, Anderson County Attorney General Dave Clark is asking for the death penalty. Knoxville Attorney T. Scott Jones says a death penalty case is more complicated.
It is one of the most pressure-packed both for the prosecution and for defense counsel.
Anyone tried with the death penalty gets 2 lawyers and opportunities for appeal at the state and federal level.
Unsurprisingly, they have pled not guilty to these charges. So in January, Tennessee prosecutors announced their intent to seek the death penalty for both Sean and Rebecca because of the, and I quote, especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel manner in which Sean and Rebecca allegedly killed Jennifer, and also because the killing was done for the reason of avoiding, interfering, or preventing arrest or prosecution for the kidnapping itself. They also say because they knowingly mutilated the body of the victim after death. The DA said that once the notice to seek the death penalty is filed, special procedures go into effect in this court case, and a series of procedures must be followed for cases with the possibility of capital punishment. And part of that includes the defendants being appointed qualified attorneys who are familiar with and qualified to defend them in a death penalty case, and also the right to a second attorney. On March 4th of this year, they attended a criminal court hearing for the status hearing.
A woman accused of torturing and killing a woman in Oak Ridge will now undergo a mental exam. An Anderson County judge ordered a mental evaluation for Rebecca Dishman. She and her boyfriend, Sean Finnegan, are accused of luring a woman into the home, torturing her, and then putting her body in a freezer. They are now going to undergo mental evaluations to determine if they are competent to stand trial and what their mental capacities were at the time of the killing.
Now, the judge scheduled the trial to begin in January of 2024, which seems like a really long time away. But it's normal in a death penalty case, according to one of the lawyers, and it gives the defense the best opportunity to defend them against such a final punishment, which I personally just can't imagine defending these people or defending this kind of crime. It is horrific. Since resuming capital punishment in 2018, Tennessee has only executed 7 people, all of which have been men. So Rebecca might be the very first woman to be executed in the state in the last 200 years, and she will become one of 2 women who sit on death row in the state if she's convicted. Now, I want to know what you guys think about this crime. I'm trying to dig a little deeper to see what all of those counts related to the child or possibly plural children are, and I haven't been able to find a ton of information on it. So they aren't directly related, but I am curious if you think that that is why they kept Jennifer's corpse and body in that freezer close by as a trophy because they were just sick and deranged. Did they use it to scare the child into submission to then do these acts onto the child? I have a lot of questions, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today, guys. I know it wasn't an easy one, and until the next case, stay safe. Bye.